This episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast is brought to you by Healing Hands International. I would like for you to think for a moment about how many times you have used water today. You probably brushed your teeth, took a shower, washed your hands, cooked, made coffee, washed your clothes, and even flushed the toilet a few times. How far did you have to walk for it? Across the bedroom? To the other side of the house? Did you know that every day millions of people all over the world get up and walk several miles to search for water? Not to mention that more times than not, the water that they do find is dirty and causes them to get sick. For the past 20 years, churches and individuals have been partnering with Healing Hands International to bring an end to the water crisis by drilling water wells and distributing water filtration systems. HHI empowers Christians to live out their calling to do good to all by providing local opportunities to make a global difference. If you want to be a part of this effort, you can get involved by coordinating a Walk for Water event. Walk for Water is a simple concept. If you want to host a walk, all you need to do is 3 things. Pick a date, find a location, and get people there. Healing Hands is going to take care of the rest. That's what they're doing for the one planned in our hometown of Florence, Alabama on April 18th at 2 p.m. at McFarland Park. If you want to learn more about how you can help people get clean water, please visit walkforwater.org/Ben and Travis. That's walk, the numeral 4, water.org/Ben and Travis. Join us in changing the water cycle today.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor podcast with Ben and Travis. This is part 2 of our episode from just a few weeks ago where we discussed what teenagers wish their parents knew. We pick up on that discussion and also add a little bit at the end about what parents wish teenagers knew. Thanks for joining in. Hope you enjoy.
Several years ago, actually, we asked a couple of youth groups, and I guess I can name them, Highland Park Church of Christ in Muscle Shoals, where I work, and Chase Park over in Huntsville. Some kids had given us some answers to these questions, and I guess more or less we're going to talk about from the standpoint of what kids wish that we knew as parents about them. And I'm sure as parents we can give some perspective to what we wish the kids know, and so we may follow up kind of at the end with that. You know, one said, "I know more about good choices and bad choices than they think." You know, I can make some. I want to make some. I think I may have mentioned that one earlier anyway. But, you know, there's a lot of things in there about, you know, that thought that I'm just kind of looking for that approval. I'm different than when I was younger was another one that they said. So, you know, that's where that communication part comes in. You're talking to them about the needs of the moment versus what, you know, well, you used to like this stuff. Well, you know, we all change. And so as your kids grow, you got to have an open ear and an open mind to what their needs are. So number 5, lastly of all, and this one kind of, you know, hits pretty hard at home for athletic families. I need your example is the last one. And that comes from this one statement that was made. And it said, "I like sports, but I love God more. And I wish they did too." Man, that one hit me. It hit me back then. It still hits me today. Like, what are we saying is most important? What is it that we are projecting out there that's most important? The places that we go and the places that we don't. The things that we focus on and the things that we don't. What are we telling our kids? Because we say, I think most people out there say things like, you know, we put God first. God's first in our family. But is he? You know, with things like that, it makes you wonder, like, are we really projecting him as first? Is he first in those things? And our kids, that their opinions matter. I wish, you know, at times that my kids had played other things and more things, but we've pretty much been of the opinion is if you start something, you're going to finish it. But if you decide you don't want to play it, then that's your choice. I'm not going to make you play a sport you don't want to play. I know other parents are different about that, and that's okay. But what are you telling them is the most important thing? And I think we all have to kind of think about that our example is what they're going to follow. Another one said being a Christian and a good friend is hard sometimes. let's teach our kids how to be a Christian and a good friend, that it doesn't have to be two separate things, but that those things go hand in hand with what we do.
And, we live in a world that wants to separate those two things so desperately. They want to make God only relative in certain places, or relevant in certain areas of life, and he needs to kind of stay there. And so that doesn't help on the being a Christian and a good friend. And they just need us to model things for them, and in that aspect, I certainly could be better. I do have some tremendous friends who are Christians and keep me, help me in my relationship with God. And I've been blessed by that. But am I modeling to them what a good friend is, who loves the Lord? Now, I'm hoping that that's something that can be seen, pretty openly, that being a good friend and a Christian should go hand in hand.
Yeah, I think, just, last kind of thoughts on this is that they just need us to be present. So many times, and you've probably heard those commercials, about foster parents, or, those who are kind of volunteering for that, is you don't have to be a perfect parent, because none of us are, but just being present makes the difference. Do your kids know that they can come to you and talk to you? Do your kids know that they can share with you their struggles? Because if they're not sharing them with you, who are they sharing them with? Who are they talking to about them? If you don't think they're comfortable talking to you, or you're not comfortable talking to them about certain topics, find some mentors or some people that they can talk to. Find some people at your church that maybe, if your kids are into hunting, or your kids are into fishing, or your kids are into golf, or, whatever it may be that they're into, find some people and say, hey, will you kind of come along and mentor my kid? Will you take them golfing and talk to them? Will you come watch them play, and then maybe take them out for a milkshake afterwards, and just see if, maybe they'll share some things with you that they don't share with me. Obviously in hardcore scenarios, difficult times, counseling or whatever else may be important, getting them to the youth minister, whoever that may be. But, having trusted people who, can talk to them, but be present enough to know those things, to know what they need, to see those needs, and to try to meet them. Titus 3:14 applies in a lot of different places. My people must learn to engage in good deeds to meet pressing needs, so that they will not be unfruitful. If we want our families to grow and flourish, and not just survive but thrive, it really has a lot to do with just simply being present with each other. That's, husbands and wives, that's kids and parents. The idea of attunement, turning toward each other when we're talking, listening, paying attention. I think all those things come in handy.
Yeah, that was one of the things my mom really was good at, was, at least with me and my relationship with her, was she was always available to talk. 2:00 in the morning, whatever. Even after I got into my 20s, was in my first full-time job, full-time work there at North Broad in Albertville, I could call her, kind of like that Diamond Rio song, don't forget to pray for me. And of course, she also, I had the benefit, and Ben too, when dealing with me, is typically my emotions were right here. Like, there was no hiding something's wrong with Travis. And so it's just best to go ahead and beat it out of me. And typically I was willing to share. But yeah, I mean, that they know that anytime, night or day, that they can come to you, the door's open, is such a huge deal. And I think that sometimes, and I'm holding up my phone for those of you that are listening, even with my wife, I've got my phone up, and I've shared the story about, I'm on this, just wait just a second. And, it's kind of like, if I wait for you to put your phone down, I'll be waiting a long time,
We're the same way.
So that sometimes being available is putting down the email, putting down the computer or the phone. And, I've got to, this is a priority. Once again, what are we projecting?
Yeah.
And man, that's a big one for me.
Yeah, and so I guess just to kind of, I don't know how much of a wrap up this will be, but just kind of as a thought, what do you think parents want kids to know? If teenagers or their kids are listening to them, what do you think some of the things that because I'm a parent, you're a parent, I know that there's a bunch of other parents out there, so you guys can share. on Facebook or Instagram or wherever it is that Travis puts the stuff. You can share on there too. What are some things that you think that or that you would like for your teenagers or your kids to know? What do you think some of those are?
I want my kids, of course, they're not teenagers, to know that no matter what, I'm going to love you, and I've got an ear to hear. I think of parents who have lost kids one way or the other, and I think that anything leading up to that, we won't get into that too much, but I'm sure that they would more than be happy to hear what is going on. And work through that and deal with it than to not have that opportunity. So, that's the big thing, is that whatever it takes to get our attention, then, we want you to be safe, but do what's necessary. You're important, you're a priority, and, we would much rather hear and suffer along with you if that's what is necessary than for you to suffer in silence.
Yeah. And I double that, ditto that. I don't know what the word is there for that, but I second that. That's what I was looking for. Second that. I second that thought, in that we're gonna love our kids no matter what. There are times we joke about that. We may not like them sometimes, and I'm sure they don't like us sometimes, and that's that's the case. But the fact that we love them never changes, and the idea that the choices we make for them are for their safety, both now and into the future. So sometimes, like a little kid doesn't understand why you won't let them stick their finger in a socket. That's where I want to put my finger. But we know better. We know where that takes you. And so sometimes there's things that we know through experience that we want you guys to just trust us on. I know that I've heard for years that the dumbest thing parents say is the idea of, because I said so. This is the reason I want you to do it, because I said so. I know that sounds like a lame excuse, but God kind of gave that to Job, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like, Job, I just know more right now.
Sometimes there's not time to explain things.
That's right.
And you need to just
what it is.
Trust us on this, and then maybe there'll be time later where you can understand.
And so maybe we can talk about it later, but in the moment, we're asking you just to trust us. And then, we can come back and go, here's the reasons why. Or maybe when you're older, we can explain those reasons why. But I think for when we say that, and when it's frustrating that we say it, just know that there may be some wisdom behind it that we either don't think you're ready to hear all of yet, but we will share it with you, at least as much as we can. Or if it's not, that it's just that, in that moment, we need you to just trust it right then.
I think on the backside of that, and it's the same thing, husbands are to love their wives, wives are to respect their husbands. And that goes a long way. If you want more freedom and you want respect towards what you want and the things that you want to do, man, if you respect your parents, that goes a long way. But if there's this constant yin, especially in front of other people, if we just say, hey, we need you to trust us on this, we need your respect. If you show that respect and you do it and you hop to it and you do what you're told to do, then that's one of the quickest ways to get a little more freedom next time, a little more leeway, and so just, I guess I'm giving that from life experience. Yeah. Like I said, I don't have teenagers at home. I do teach a lot of teenagers. I coach teenagers, and so many situations with them would have been so much better had they just shown a little bit more respect. Yes, sir. No, sir. Whatever.
Yeah, how many times I've had to tell people or walk people through, teenagers a lot of times, through the idea of doing what, following the rules brings more freedom. We think, hey, I'm going to sneak out whenever I want because I'm going to have the freedom I want. I'm going to do what I want. They can't tell me what to do. And then that generally ends up turning into, you're on lockdown. Yeah. Your keys are taken away. Yeah. Your room, has its door off the hinges. Whatever the case may be, you've limited your freedom by claiming I'm going to have freedom.
Yeah, and it works in school too. I work at a Christian school. We have a handbook that all the students hate. They hate the handbook. And some people they're a rule unto themselves. They don't even have to have a rule book. They just do what they're supposed to do. You've got the people who out of ignorance would mess up, so it's good to have a handbook. And then you have people who are always looking for loopholes, right? And they find them. But the problem is next year the handbook gets bigger.
Yeah.
And people's freedom gets more restricted. And so, it works on all levels there, that if you want respect and you want more freedom, guess what? It's by showing respect.
Go by the rules. The favorite thing of Travis that we've kind of used with the spiritual referee in our videos is, these people, we saw this in a football game a couple of years ago where guy calls a penalty and he says, and number so-and-so has disqualified himself from this game. He didn't say we're disqualifying. He says he did something that was against the rules. Therefore, he disqualified himself. My kids will sometimes say, well, you got me in trouble. No, I had a rule. You broke the rule. So who got you in trouble? It wasn't me. It was you.
Yeah.
Now I'm enforcing it, which is what they were meaning. But the getting in trouble part was you broke the rule. And the rules are there. The rules are there so that we keep you safe. The rules, on the road are there so that you're safe. The rules that we have, in place as a government are there to keep you safe. Even Romans chapter 13 tells us that. And so when we go against those, we disqualify ourselves from the spiritual race. We have to be careful what we, are doing because we think, hey, this is going to bring me more freedom. But the reality is it doesn't. So just know that we care about you guys. That's the reason that we do what we do. Travis and I, as a team, that's the reason that Will does what he does as a youth minister. And you all you guys have different youth ministers and preachers and youth workers and volunteers that take care of you guys. And that's why your parents do what they do. Every now and then there are parents and there are youth workers and there are, coaches and there's other people who don't really care and they take advantage and they do things that they shouldn't do. And we want you guys to tell other people about that. We those things need to be reported when people are abusing those roles that they have. But by and large, I believe that those leaders and parents and youth workers are doing their best to help you.
And, to jump on that again, I want you to know that you're influenced. Okay, I remember sitting at Jacksonburg Church for Christ and Doug Jackson getting up and going, you got to be careful what you watch. You got to be careful what you listen. You need to pick your friends wisely. I remember sitting back and going, I ain't got that problem. I got Ben Hayes going to bail me out. No, I'm just kidding. But, it doesn't matter what I watch. It doesn't matter what I listen to. I know what's right and what's wrong. Those things aren't going to influence me. Well, that's not true, right? You choose your influences. And you choose those based on who you hang out with and what you listen to. I got it, right? You're sitting there, I can watch this, I can do this, and it has no influence on you. Well, listen to grown-up, 40-year-old, same guy who said the exact same thing. You are influenced by all of those things. Yep. And no one is impervious to those things. So be careful who you pick to spend time with, what you listen to, what you watch. There you go. And there's the youth minister spiel.
Here comes the boomers, as it will say.
Yeah, exactly.
But, the reality is you can listen to us or you can listen to God, who says that bad influences corrupt good morals. That's not coming from me. That's coming from the Lord. So, he reminded us of that. And I think that's an important thing for us to remember. We are influenced. I was back in the day. I had a potty mouth because I hung out with people with potty mouth and I listened to music that had a lot of stuff in it that shouldn't have been. No, not Travis. He was perfect. But I was, I struggled with those things as long as I let them be. And the other thing I did was I said, I can't help what I say. And then when I was around my dad and my grandparents, magically, I didn't say those
stuff
things.
Cleans up.
Probably because I thought my dad was going to cut my tongue out if I did.
That cleans up. Then when you've got a grandmother on your dad's side who would totally just knock you out, that helps too, right? I was terrified of this 100-pound little old lady that cut grass till she was like 98, whatever it was.
Lower the boom if she needed to.
And had the switches and all that good stuff. But you're right. I who cares? Whatever. Well, you do. depending on who you're around.
It does. It makes a difference. So we love you guys. We care for you guys.
We checked our youth minister box, right?
That's right.
Don't be careful what you listen to, who you let influence you. It's
we're
true.
Looking out for Will. He's not here with us this weekend, so we're looking out for him, making sure that everything is known there. But so maybe all of us have something to work on. Whether we're parents, grandparents, kids. I mean, grandparents. You guys, if we got grandparents who listen to this too, you guys serve a vital role there too, because a lot of kids will come talk to you. Your grandkids come talk to you when they won't talk to their parents. Be a mediator, not just somebody who takes up on one side or the other, but help them to help encourage them to have that good relationship with their parents. And so maybe we all got a little homework to do.
Oh, I believe so. We always got stuff we can be better at.
Well, thanks for joining us. We love you guys, and we appreciate you listening to us and all the good feedback that you give us. And we just hope that we continue to be able to do this and encourage people around us.
We talk a lot about the importance of mental and emotional health on the podcast. But what if you're concerned about the emotional health of a child? Sometimes after a major change, a child may begin to struggle emotionally or socially. You can tell that they are struggling because they might begin to behave badly or have extreme feelings of worry or sadness. They might even engage in destructive behaviors or regress in their normal development. Children don't have the ability to express their concerns verbally as you and I do. Play therapy might be the answer. In play therapy, toys are like the child's words, and play is the child's language. Amy Thompson at Serenity Counseling helps children who may be struggling emotionally or socially learn more adaptive behaviors. Through play therapy, a child can also learn to communicate with others, express feelings, develop problem-solving skills, and learn a variety of ways of relating to others. Give Amy a call at 256-263-6367 to find out more about how play therapy might be just what you've been searching for. Registration for Titus Camp is now open at hcu.edu. Titus stands for Teens in Training for Useful Service. Titus is a leadership training camp that promotes public speaking, Christian service, and is hosted on the campus of Heritage Christian University. Titus provides a speaking assignment to every single camper at local churches in the Shoals area. Join me at this year's session, July 11th through the 18th. Be sure to register today for only $25 by clicking the link in our description.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.